So, welcome everyone to the webinar with Lauren Hubert.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. Super excited to be here with you guys tonight.
Okay. So, we will start with an introduction of Lauren from our next slide. Just a quick getting to know what she's done.
Yeah, so where do I begin? As you can see, I have a YouTube channel called Lauren Abbey. Abby's my middle name, so that's where that came from. I kind of started it as a music account. I was really into singing back early high school, and slowly that transitioned to more of showing my like day-to-day vlog style, going to classes, getting into university, and just what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I'm studying at the University of Rhode Island. I'm currently a junior chemical engineering major on like a pharmaceutical concentration. Also have a math minor in there, but haven't done too much with that. So, but I thought it's pretty interesting. I did some summer research last summer over at Vanderbilt University. And at the end, I created this whole poster with the research I had done, and I brought it to the AICHE, or American Institute of Chemical Engineers, national conference in Phoenix, and I ended up placing first place in my category for research. So it's a project I'm really passionate about. Has a really long name, as you guys can see there, that's quoted. But if you guys have any questions about that, happy to answer. It was a ton of fun. It definitely sparked my love for research, as well as I do some research at URI at the University of Rhode Island. So currently now I'm looking towards maybe attending grad school for chemical engineering, possibly going right into industry. I'm really interested in like biotech, but we'll get more into that, I think. That's a little bit about me. I also like long distance running. I don't know, that's not school related, but try to keep a really balanced life of school and non-school. So that's me.
That's great. So, the attendees, if you have any questions, feel free to text it in the chat and we'll look over it after the webinar.
Any questions at all? Seriously. School related, not school related.
Okay, so ScienceHolic. As we all know, ScienceHolic is a nonprofit organization. Just so that everybody knows, our sixth magazine is out, so make sure to take a look at it on our website. And also, we are recruiting general members, so please take a look at it. ScienceHolic is great. It's a great organization. It's also great for uni applications as well. So please take a look at it. So in academic wise, is there any academic achievements that you probably may have done or
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, I just had to, for some reason my AirPods stopped working. So academics, yes, I really starting university tried to do well in my classes. Yes. So Dean's List, all of that stuff is very important to me, especially coming in, getting high marks, a high GPA. As I've moved throughout school, I feel like I've had a much healthier outlook on that, because it is important if you're going to grad school in a way for your GPA to be high. And that's like one element, just like as it is with university applications. But I try to put a little less pressure on myself. So grades, yes, but I think my biggest achievements have come through research. So the research I'm doing at the University of Rhode Island, it's in a little bit different of a field than I did my research in at Vanderbilt. It's working with carbon nanotubes. Again, a whole field that I can try to get into if anyone has questions. but I have actually been published on a paper with a few of our grad students in that lab. We have a current paper sent off to review that I'm also an author on, and a prospective paper that we just started writing. So I consider that to be a really big achievement. And then, like I was mentioning before, what I did at Vanderbilt and what I was able to achieve with that research definitely is a highlight for me. So I would say like the biggest things that I've taken away have been my research opportunities.
Wow, that is quite an achievement. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So what is the focus of your academic and current career?
So I would say it's all up in the air. If you were to ask me that question a few months ago, even, I would have definitely told you, get the bachelor's in chemical engineering and then apply to grad school and go right to grad school for my PhD because I love research and that's what I have a real passion in. And then eventually go out into industry and look for a job in biopharmaceutics, some firm up in Boston, working Pfizer, Moderna, all these big companies that you hear, because I really want to be on that like cutting edge of research in immunoengineering and curing diseases and using your body to help you fight off diseases. That's like what I'm really, really passionate about. So again, if you asked me that 2 months ago, that was my path. Now I am kind of split. This summer I'm doing an internship with a pharmaceutical company. So I'll kind of get to see like the industry side of things. And I'm trying to keep an open mind. And if that really clicks with me, I might end up going the industry route and just graduating with my bachelor's and going right to the workforce. Again, in one of the pharmaceutical companies, I really enjoy that kind of research field, but perhaps with a different role without the PhD. So yeah, and then I don't know if you want me to go into the next kind of question down there.
I mean, yeah, well, is there like some challenges
Yeah,
that you
so
face?
I would definitely say like trying to figure that all out while while taking all the classes and trying to do everything else and hang out with friends and maintain a life. Like the balance of it all is definitely tricky, especially in the beginning. But I've found it becoming a little bit easier. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it. Like I see like on the slide having a YouTube channel. I do such a bad job at maintaining like weekly uploads during the semester. And that's something I'm really like my goal is to get better with that this semester. It's just hard with the time. It's hard to prioritize, because I feel like I'm a very passionate person and I love my classes. I genuinely love learning. But I also love running and I also love YouTube and video editing. And it's like, how do you fit that all in while also looking towards the future? The good news is it's all very exciting because being passionate about a bunch of different areas and branching off into a bunch of different areas, you wake up every day and you're like, let's do this. There's so many things you can pursue. So yeah, I definitely say chemical engineering is that interesting major where you're doing a lot. There's not a lot of downtime. So being comfortable with that and just kind of moving through that is a big tip, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Well, is there any certain interests that you had which like sparked your interest in the STEM fields that inspired you to pursue chemical engineering?
Yeah, so I would say engineering in particular. In 8th grade, I had my teacher, she did like little engineering challenges where I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but we would take like spaghetti and marshmallows and try to make a tower out of spaghetti and like masking tape and try to put the marshmallow on top. Or like one of them was you're trying to build a raft out of popsicle sticks and you have to hold like a certain amount of pennies. And just these little challenges, or we'd work in teams and try to come up with the best solution. So like basically working through the scientific method. And that kind of combination of science and engineering and a little bit of math in there, I was like, ooh, I kind of like this. I kind of like this. I feel like I've always been a STEM kind of kid. loved math and science throughout high school. Honestly, I thought I wanted to go like biology, biochem route and do pre-med and become something in the medical field. And then I had a conversation with one of my friends whose parent is a biomedical engineer. And she was telling me, she's like, I want to major in biomedical engineering. Like, you get to do this, this, and this. And I was like, wait a second. I can combine engineering and these principles with the medical field and helping the greater population in that way. Like, that's what I want to do. So I came into URI, into university, majoring in biomedical engineering and switched to chemical engineering just because the biomed engineering program at URI at my specific university is very like electrical focused, very like prosthetics and neuro, all that stuff. I'm not a big electrical person. I'm more of like the tissue science, nanoscale drug delivery kind of side, which fit more with chemical engineering, like research. So yeah, I guess that was my like whole progression of why I ended up getting into chemical engineering.
And how was your experience studying at University of Rhode Island?
It's been really good. So I will not lie. This was not my first choice of university whatsoever. I graduated high school 8 minutes from a high school 8 minutes away from URI, and it was seen as kind of like the fallback school for everyone. And it's our state school, like, don't go to URI. I'm telling you, like, it was the best decision I've ever made. Up until this point, one of the best decisions. That's a very heavy statement, but you get what I mean. Like, I was very caught up in like the label of the school, especially with the like stigma around my town. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's really what you make of it. And it's so cliche, but it's so true. Like, if you want to decide you want to stand out at your school and you want to pursue different opportunities and things, like, you can do it no matter what school you're attending. So for me in particular, URI, they have a fantastic engineering program, a beautiful new engineering building, state-of-the-art labs, like, great stuff. And just because it's the state school and the fallback school, as some people called it, like, that really does not give it enough credit. I've met some amazing people and some amazing professors. My PI, my principal investigator at URI, is fantastic. And he's actually the professor, one of my professors this semester. And so, like, just it's been great, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It ended up being, like I said, one of the best decisions I made, and I'm close to home, which ended up being really nice with COVID happening, and I got to still see my family. So,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
And is there a favorite part of studying and working in STEM?
Definitely. I would say for me, it's like just constantly learning something I never knew existed before. Like, I remember the first time I was learning about protein structure, or like how proteins fold, like even DNA and what that is. And it's like this whole other realm of the universe just becomes unlocked for you. And it's like, this existed the whole time. Like, had no. So I would say it's like that kind of every day, where this semester I'm taking heat transfer and chemical kinetics and reactor design. Those are my two like main chemical engineering courses. And every day I walk into those classes and I'm learning something completely brand new. And it's like just widening my scope of what's going on in the world. So I think that's why I really love STEM, is you can see the application outside really easily, and it's endless what you can learn. And especially in research, like, we're literally discovering the next big thing. So I think that's probably my favorite thing, if that makes sense. I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So is there any advice on the career path if we do choose to take chemical engineering in the future?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I loved chemical engineering coming into it, especially, it's very broad. So you can go into working with materials engineering. You can go into like more of a traditional distillation reactor kind of design sort of engineer. You can go the
the biology pharmaceutical route. Like there's so many different paths and it can be a little overwhelming. But that also means it can really be specialized to what you want. And once you figure it out, like just go down that path. I guess I'm still trying to work through it. So to say I have a lot of advice would be a lie. But I will say, like, in general, there's really two things you can do, which is kind of what I touched on before. Like, do your four years or however long it takes you to get that bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. And then the cool thing about that degree, it can take you a lot of places with just the bachelor's, just the 4 or so years. And you can just do that. Or if you find that, you know, you really want to pursue a certain topic further, you really want to go, you're really into research and want to try that, like grad school would be your thing. And when I say grad school, usually PhD, also masters. A lot of schools do like integrated masters and bachelors now, which is really cool. So yeah, the cool thing about chemi is that you have that, you can do the 4 years and go off and get a great job. You can do more if that's what you really want. So yeah, I think it's just about figuring that out and also trusting that it will work out. That was also a big thing for me. Like I was mentioning, like choosing URI, I really didn't want to make that decision. I was just like, but when I tell you everything kind of works out the way it's supposed to, and you have more control over your situation than you think you do. So if you get put in the school, if you end up going to the school that really wasn't your top choice, like there's a reason you're there and you can make the best of it. You will find a way to make the best of it, and certain opportunities and things will become unlocked for you that you didn't even know were possible. So yeah, I guess that's my inspiration of the day. Yeah, unless anyone has any questions at the end. That's what I have to say about that.
Okay, so we know chemical engineering is pretty challenging. So what does your typical day look like?
I don't know if you can hear my sister on the other side of the wall. I apologize. Yeah, so okay. My typical day, I like to show this on my YouTube channel, so I definitely have this down. I am an early bird, so I'm getting up like between 6 and 7, and exercise and moving my body is very important to me. So that's usually the first thing I'm doing is getting out for a run or going to the gym. I live on campus, so I'm home now, but I usually live on campus. And the gym's right there, so it's really nice. Or we border like a bike path, so I can just go for a run. You know, come back, and I really don't start doing work until that workout's done. I've had breakfast, and then around like 9 a.m. I'm walking to class early usually, and that like hour or so before. Most of my classes are starting around 11 a.m. this semester, I should preface. So I'm taking that between 9 and 11 to really like write down on my planner everything I need to do and start doing some of the things that I want to get done. My afternoons are pretty much all classes. Although this semester has been lighter than other semesters, which is really nice. Taking 4 classes. One of them has a lab and also doing research. So it's a really good mix of things. But yeah, usually most days my classes are done around 4:30. Might have a lab meeting thrown in there, might have lab work thrown in there, but I kind of treat that as like class time. And then after that, I am studying usually, doing any homework I might have till I get hungry for dinner, have some dinner, get back to the dorm, get back to my like little apartment thing. And this is where like if I have an exam coming up, I'll put in a little more time, but honestly, by like 8 p.m., I'm dead exhausted. So it sounds kind of, I'm very not typical for that. Like a lot of college students, they're up really late. A lot of my friends are staying up till like 4 a.m. the morning before an exam, and I'm just not that person. So that's kind of, once the clock hits 8, I'm done. I'm getting ready for bed. I'm watching TikTok on my phone. Like it's over. So I will say like that's my typical day. And I think I've been able to get far with that, even though I am going to bed pretty early, because I don't procrastinate that much. So I'm able to like get a lot done in the time that I have during the week, and then I get a little bit done on the weekends, which really helps like set me up for the next week. So writing things down in my planner, like I definitely recommend any thought that pops into my head, it's going down either like written planner, or I use Notion. I don't know if you guys have the app Notion. It's really helpful. So I'm typing it in there, like just in that way it assures like the thought won't just fly out of your head, like, oh, I have to remember to email this person. Like it's down on the paper. So try to just check off as many things as possible.
I'll try to use Notion as well then.
Yes, it's so good. I want to make a YouTube video about it, but it's has a bit of a learning curve, I will say that.
Okay. Is there any advice you would give to high school students who are considering the career in STEM field?
Yeah, so I'm trying to like put myself in my middle of high school shoes. I would definitely say, like, I don't know what everyone's high school situation is looking like in terms of AP or IB classes. I will say, like, challenging yourself with those classes, definitely. Like, if that's your thing, go for it. But don't feel like just because everyone else is doing it that you need to also overload your schedule with those classes if that's not connecting with you, if that's not what you want to do. Like, you will still get into the schools you want to get into without that. I will say though, it does give you a nice background. If like I took AP Bio and I was able to get out of that class, but also had some nice background going into my later like cell bio classes. So I'm not discounting those classes whatsoever, because again, they give a good background. But I will say, like, schools you're looking at, definitely see if they accept those credits too, because some schools don't. I was lucky with URI that I think most of my credits transferred. But just keep that in mind. If you were really looking to get out of some of those credits, they might not transfer, but that's school to school dependent. I would say high school is like definitely just a good time to explore what you're interested in, whether that be in STEM like bio or more chem focused, or if you like physics, and then really think about how that would relate to what you might want to get into with college. Because again, you're just going to do like a deeper dive in your college classes, and you might not get your major right on the first go of it. You might come in like, I mean, I came in biomedical engineering and I switched it to chemical engineering, and it was super easy. So don't feel like you have to make that right decision. That was definitely something for me. I was like, I'm 17 years old. How am I going to know what I'm going to be passionate about when I'm 21? Like, I don't know. So you kind of, there's that, like, you just have to take the plunge and say, all right, I enjoy chemistry. I enjoy a little bit of bio and learning about cells. Like, I'm going to go in as a cell bio major and then see what happens and see what classes are connecting with you. I definitely will say too, like, transition from high school to college, for me, it looked a little weird because I graduated in 2020. So I was going to college like during really bad COVID times. So the transition wasn't exactly normal. But I was always very scared that like I'd walk into my first class of the next semester. Like, I still get this. Like, I'm going to walk into a class and I'm going to have no idea what's going on. Like, all of a sudden the level's going to jump like super high and I'm going to have no idea and be so lost. It's not going to happen. Like, everybody take a collective deep breath. It's not going to happen. Professors there to help you. They have office hours. Your kids around you. Freshman year, it's a little weird. People are still making friends, but I keep a support group around you. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people, because that's really what helps me, is having those people around me that I could be like, hey, am I overreacting? Like, is this going to be difficult? That sort of thing. So yeah, the transition, it seems like a huge jump. And in some ways it is. Like, you might be moving away from home for the first time. You might have to, be by yourself for the first time, but classes wise, it's not going to be it's not as crazy as you think when you think of like a college course. It scales up very nicely. And that's, from my experience, what I have to say about that.
That's okay. What kind of student do you think would be a good fit for studying chemical engineering? And how do you think one can like start? working in chemical engineering?
Yeah, so I think, and just kind of thinking through the kids that are chemical engineering majors along with me, like we have a lot of different personalities and different people that study in different ways and live their lives in different ways. So there's definitely not one size fits all. I definitely think to be in chemical engineering, you have to be comfortable with devoting more of your time to some work. But that's not to say you can't still live the balanced life. So I'll say time management is very important if you want to have a really balanced life during the school semesters. I've found that time management and being kind of disciplined with that has really, really helped me. Don't know if you can get by without that, probably might be able to, but for me, it's just made it easier. Holding myself accountable and trying to stay disciplined to a bit of a schedule with work and running and everything. Yeah, and I think someone that's just excited to learn about things, especially when you're going through classes that you might not love, like thermodynamics, wasn't my favorite class, but kind of going into it with the perspective of, coming in and learning a new thing every day, that helps. So that's kind of the general student good fit that I would say. But in terms of how can one start working in chemie, it's difficult because the degree is kind of necessary and it goes hand in hand. Although I will say there is some overlap with other engineering majors. I've seen on different job applications that a lot of times they're accepting multiple types of engineers: biomedical, mechanical, and chemical. So there's a collection of groups. But again, I will say, to get started working in chemical engineering, you kind of need that collegiate background. Again, as far as I know. So yeah, it seems like a long haul, but like I said, 4 or 5 years, however long it takes you to get that bachelor's, that's all it has to be. And you can really start working in chemical engineering. So
that's great. So now we'll start asking questions from the attendees. We'll go with the chat questions after the slide. So feel free to still send some questions on the chat. So the first attendee question was, what's the biggest challenge so far in studying chemical engineering?
So I would say some of the classes in particular, I mentioned thermodynamics earlier. I think just the content wise, some of these concepts take a second to wrap your mind around and really grasp. So I'll say probably that. And then also dealing with some professors that might not align with your learning style as much. Their teaching style doesn't exactly match how you learn best. So I think combination of all those things and just kind of having to adapt with that. I'll also say freshman and sophomore year, I had a pretty hard time. I felt very isolated with the way the restrictions were. So making friends was hard. Just seeing people, because I wasn't in a ton of my dedicated chemical engineering classes yet. So making friends was very difficult, but kind of got over that hump. There's less restrictions, and I'm in a lot more chemical engineering classes. So there's a group of 30 of us as a major. We all just travel around to the same classes together. So I've definitely found friends. So, but that's probably the two hardest things.
That's great. Sorry, we have around 6 minutes-ish of the...
I'll go fast.
Thank you. Really sorry about that.
No worries.
So the second question, how stressful is it working in this field? And is there ever a time where you would say it's too late to start preparing for such a career?
Never too late. Apply to college whenever, get your master's, get your PhD whenever. Never too late. It can be stressful, especially when you're doing a new lab technique for the first time, or you're learning a new thing, or going into an exam for the first time during a semester. It can be stressful, but you build resilience over time.
There's a question in the meeting chat from Peggy Yang. So what other subjects would you say is helpful for your major outside of just the elective classes?
Ooh. For me, I've really liked my pharmaceutical classes. And I know I mentioned I was a pharmaceutical track, but those classes aren't exactly chemi. So I've taken some like biopharmaceutics, dosage forms, like just learning about the pharmaceutical industry in general. I've also taken biochemistry and cell bio. It's absolutely fascinating. And I really think that has helped me with the bio focus. And I'm also taking a bio nanotechnology class next semester, just for fun. So should be fun.
That's great. Second question. How accurate is the stereotype that most college students are coffee addicts?
It's a little too accurate. I definitely am. I have like 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, which honestly is not too bad. I will say, from what I've seen, the energy drink, just the classic like Red Bull, Monster, like they're all over. So we have a drink that's like Red Bull with soda and like raspberry syrup or something that is all over campus. I don't know. So yeah, I would say energy drinks and coffee is definitely, especially if you like staying up late or you have to get an assignment done. Like sometimes it's just necessary.
Oh, wow, that is stressful.
It's good times.
I think that is it for the live Q&A, unless anybody else have questions. And thank you all for attending the webinar. Oh, sorry, we have one more question. Do you have any friends now at college that you've maintained since high school?
So this is an interesting question. I know a lot of people that still have maintained like their kind of big friend groups, but also a lot of people that haven't. For me, I am not as great friends. Like I had like 2 really best friends in high school, and we'll still reach out to each other every once in a while, but we're all at different schools, all doing different things. And you just kind of start, or for me, I've noticed we've just kind of grown apart a little bit, but we'll still like grab coffee during break and catch up. So I guess that is maintain friendship. So yeah, I've tried to, but a lot of like my just normal kind of friends that I wasn't as close with, I haven't really maintained those relationships. It's just hard because everyone's doing their own thing in different places. But again, the school I go to, very close to where I graduated high school, a lot of kids from my high school are there. So I see them sometimes, and it's always fun to kind of have a blast from the past and be like, I remember when we graduated. So yeah, I've maintained a few friends.
That's great. Okay, if there is no more questions, I guess we'll end the webinar now. Just remember that these are the email for ScienceHolic, Instagram, WeChat, our link to our organization. And we all know her YouTube channel, so check out her YouTube channel and our YouTube channel as well. We'll be posting this webinar video on YouTube as well. Thank you everyone for attending. We hope this was helpful.
Thank you guys. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Of course.